In a small, peaceful village, surrounded by whispering trees and the soft hum of nature, lived a man and his wife. They weren't rich or famous, but they had something far more precious. Deep love, the kind that grows quietly but firmly, like roots beneath the earth. They spent their days in simple harmony, sharing smiles, meals, and moments that made their little world complete. But life, in its unpredictable rhythm, doesn't always follow the path of peace. One day, the woman fell gravely ill. Her strength faded quickly, and the joy that once danced in her eyes dimmed into sorrow. On her final night, as the moonlight poured through the wooden shutters of their modest home, she held her husband's hand with trembling fingers. Her voice, faint and warm, carried a heavy weight. She whispered, "I love you with all I have. Promise me something. Don't fall in love with another woman after I'm gone. If you do, I'll have to come back. I'll have to haunt you." The man, devastated by the thought of losing her, gave her that promise. His heart shattered in silence as she took her last breath, her hand still clinging to his, like a memory refusing to fade. Days turned into weeks, and the sorrow wrapped itself around the man like a thick fog. He withdrew from the world. Friends came and went, offering words of comfort that couldn't reach the depth of his grief. He lived quietly, keeping to himself, holding on to that promise like a sacred relic. He didn't look at another woman. He couldn't. Not just because of the promise, but because he couldn't imagine loving anyone else. But loneliness is a patient visitor. It doesn't knock, it seeps in. Slowly, gently. Over time, he began to feel its weight. Empty mornings, silent meals, and the aching stillness of nights made his house feel like a hollow shell. That's when he met her, a kind woman with soft eyes and a gentle smile. She didn't try to replace what he had lost. She simply brought warmth back into his life, like a candle flickering in a long dark room. Their connection was slow, natural. It didn't come with fireworks, but with the kind of comfort that made him feel alive again. After some time, love quietly returned to his heart, and eventually they got engaged. He smiled again, laughed again. Life seemed to mend itself piece by piece. But that same night, as sleep wrapped around him like a blanket, the air in his room shifted. A chill crept in. And then she appeared, his late wife. Her face was pale, drawn with sorrow and a trace of bitterness. Her eyes, once loving, now carried something colder. "You broke your promise," she said, her voice echoing like wind through trees. "I told you, if you loved someone else, I'd have to come back." Fear gripped him. He sat up, breath caught in his throat. He tried to reason, to explain, but she vanished as quickly as she came. The next night, she returned. And the night after that. Each time she brought details. She spoke of his conversations, the dinners he shared, even the quiet whispers he exchanged with his fiancée. Every detail was precise, too precise. It was as if she were there, watching every moment unfold. The man began to unravel. His mind, once peaceful, turned into a storm of guilt and confusion. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't think. He questioned everything. How could she know? Was she always watching? Was this love a betrayal or a second chance? With his spirit crumbling, he sought help. Not from a priest or a healer, but from an old Zen master who lived on the edge of the village. The master, known for his calm wisdom, listened without interruption. When the man finished, expecting shock or disbelief, the master simply smiled. "This is a clever ghost," he said softly. "But don't be afraid. I have something for you to try." That night, the man waited again for the ghost to appear. As expected, she came, listing everything that had happened during the day. His walk with his fiancée, the soup they shared, the laughter they exchanged. But this time he didn't tremble. He looked at her calmly. "You are powerful," he said, "and wise. You see all that I do. I have nothing left to hide from you. But I have one question, just one. If you can answer it, I will leave her and stay alone, just as you asked." The ghost paused. Curiosity flickered in her cold eyes. "Ask," she said. He reached into a sack beside his bed and drew out a handful of beans, holding them in a closed fist. "Tell me," he said, "how many beans am I holding?" The silence was deafening. The ghost stared at his hand. Her expression shifted, confidence replaced by confusion. She looked closer, but no answer came. The number was unknown, even to the man. And in that moment, like fog lifting in morning sun, she vanished. And this time she did not return. The quiet that followed was different from the loneliness that had haunted him before. It was clear, still, peaceful. He understood then that what he had been seeing every night was not truly her ghost. It wasn't a spirit floating from the afterlife. It was the guilt he carried. A guilt so strong it had formed its own shadow in his mind, giving life to a fear that felt real. The Zen master's wisdom wasn't in banishing a ghost, it was in revealing the truth, that the ghost only knew what he himself knew. It was born from his memories, his emotions, his unresolved pain. And when he presented something unknown, something outside his own mind, the illusion cracked. Because the ghost was never real. It was a mirror held up to his guilt, reflecting only what he already feared. So many of our fears are like that. Not monsters waiting in the dark, but thoughts we feed with our own worry, our own sorrow. We think they are external, but they grow from within. And the more we avoid them, the more power they seem to gain. But when we stop, breathe, and look at them with clarity, they often vanish, just like that ghost. The strength of the human mind is not in fighting shadows, but in understanding them, in recognizing that fear, guilt, regret, they live in our thoughts, not in the world. And once we understand that, we are free, not because the shadows disappear, but because they no longer control us.